Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute old. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 76 of the Secondary Heroes podcast. This week, we celebrate baby Adeline by talking about the most influential babies in pop culture. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me, as usual, is...
Hey, guys, it's Prague.
And I probably just woke up my baby with that singing. This is Delorean Wolfgang.
Oh, Delorean. I hope you didn't.
No, I hope not either, because then I'm in major trouble.
Major trouble. So what's it like there? You're a new dad.
Oh, yeah, man. So I'm a new dad. So she is now about 9 days old, I believe. 9 days old. Yeah, dude.
Wow.
And it is seriously awesome. I keep telling people that I kind of wish that I would have done this a lot sooner because I'm having a blast. My wife just catches me all the time just sitting there staring at her because she's just, I don't know. It's crazy that I created something so beautiful and so awesome. I don't know. And I can't wait to start sharing all of my interests and all my fun stuff with her. So I don't know, man. There's just something about being a dad that everybody always tells me or always told me before she was born, you're going to love this kid more than anything you've ever loved in your entire life. And I was like, oh, yeah. I'll believe that when I see it, And then all of a sudden I saw her and I was like, oh, my God. My heart just swelled. Dude,
isn't she lovely? Yeah.
And she's like the perfect baby, man. It's awesome. She only cries when she needs certain things. And there's only 3 things that she ever needs is either a change, a nap, or food. And I'm like, if I just go through those 3 things, I'm good. So
life is so simple.
I know, dude, right? So hopefully she keeps up with that, man. But I am loving fatherhood. I'm loving everything about it. And I am excited just to see the transitions that she'll go through because they say that every week something new is going to come up. So yeah. I'm super pumped, man.
I can't believe it's been more than a week already since she was born.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah. So, the other day, someone called me and I was like, "Oh yeah." So she hit a week year old. She hit a week old, and I go, "Oh yeah." So she's 5 days old today, and my wife goes, "No, she's 7." I said,
"What?
What? she's that old?"
You probably lost some time in the hospital too, from delirium.
Oh, dude, the hospital was the worst part. They had a bed that was pretty much the size of the chair that I'm sitting in, and that's what I got to sleep in. So that was awful. Yeah. But yeah, having to wake up every 3 hours is pretty tough, but I'm getting through it. And yeah, it's fun though. It's still cool.
Are you able to get any pop culture in?
Pop culture?
Watch TV at all or anything? Or
dude, that's the best part. Because I'm on paternity leave, all I do is watch TV. Nice. I sit there with my baby, holding her. Either she's laying on my chest, sleeping. It's the cutest thing ever. Let me brag about my baby some more. And I'll turn on the TV. I watch My Hero Academia, and she sleeps right through it, man.
I do too.
I'm anime, and she just snores right through it. It's great.
I get it. Totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
right through that.
That's baby talk this week.
That's good. I didn't know if she was the type to be crying all the time and fussy, but it seems like she's pretty good. She can nap through things, and you have chances to watch a lot.
That's what I was worried about. I was worried that I was just gonna get a fussy baby that was gonna cry all the time. But you know what, man? I got super lucky. And me and my wife were on a great track where we've timed everything out perfectly. So yeah, it's been pretty great, man. We have a system and it's working awesome.
Well, what's
Sorry, I hope that this isn't too boring for anybody. I'm just so excited talking about it.
We're excited to hear it. I'm sure our fans are excited to hear it because they've been hearing, you talk about the baby coming for a long time now. So I think it is kind of exciting that this is happening.
Well, it was funny too because the day that I drove her home, we had to stop at CVS to pick up some meds for Stacy, and Stacy was the only one who could go pick up the meds. So I'm sitting in the car with the baby, obviously air conditioning blasting, and people are walking by, and all I'm thinking is, I want to show off my baby. Come over to my car. I want to show you
see
my
what I
baby.
have? Look what I
Let me
have.
show you my baby.
You gotta hold
I didn't
it,
do that.
Rafiki style.
Yeah.
Just go out of the car and just
Yeah.
hold it.
That's all I got. That's right.
I'm being a little loud now.
People are looking at the car like, what the heck is that man doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
Is he Simba-ing his newborn child? What is going on?
It's great. Yeah, after she's 3 days old. It's awesome. No, but yeah, man, so being a dad is awesome. It's cool.
Interestingly, speaking of Simba, he actually is a very influential baby in the movie that he is a part of. He becomes the protagonist of the film.
Yeah.
And
He's
the king.
Spoiler alert.
Oh,
My
sorry.
God. No idea.
My
But yeah,
bad, y'all.
It's a pivotal scene, in the movie where he holds Simba up in front of everybody, and that's like the before the credits even roll, that scene happens. That's how prominent that scene is. So
Well,
it's very
actually,
important.
that whole movie is before the credit rolls. But
Yes,
like,
technically,
no, I mean, so even the title screen. The whole
Right.
movie plays before the title screen even shows up because
Sure.
the very last dum dum is
is
the Lion King. Yeah.
But I mean, like the intro, the actual intro.
Oh,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
of
baby,
course.
being born and being shown to everybody, and it's this big moment in film. And what is even more interesting is that you're saying that this is such a big deal, and that's all you hear. I don't have kids, I wouldn't know, but it seems like it's such a monumental deal. You would think that there would be like just nothing but movies about babies and babyhood. And there really aren't. I mean, there are a few we're going to talk about in TV shows, but it seems like they're kind of used in ways you wouldn't think. They're not always like the main part of a story. Sometimes they're the tipping point of a story. Sometimes they're the MacGuffin of a story. But yeah, I'm surprised that there weren't as many that were like specifically about babyhood, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But before we jump into any of that, I want to make sure that we get our socials through.
Do it.
So people can actually follow us and follow all of our fun stuff online. So make sure to follow us over on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Secondary Heroes. And if you haven't already, it's always good if you go on to iTunes. If you're listening on iTunes, rate and review us, because that puts our podcast a little bit higher in the ratings, and more people will be able to check us out, and that's something that's really good for us. And I say this every week, all this is free for you and priceless to us, so please do all that. Sorry if we've been lacking on Facebook, though. I'll try and get back into the Facebook once I get the dad thing down. I'll be better on Facebook, okay?
He's busy taking pictures of his baby. It's okay.
Oh yeah, lots of dude. That's all my camera roll is. Anyways,
Of course.
we're talking movie babies.
Movie babies, of course. So yeah, I thought it'd be interesting today, not only because you had a baby, but to talk about how babies are used in films. Something when I was doing my research was really trying to look for movies that really focused on babyhood. And it was amazing to me that not as many did. Like, there are babies in film and TV, but they're usually used as plot devices, or almost like a means to an end or something, or a jumping off point, or, as I mentioned, even a MacGuffin for the plot. But yeah, very rarely do we see a baby being kind of the center point of, say, anything, really. So I kind of chose the one behind me here. This is called Look Who's Talking, which is an old film from way back in the 80s. So you guys might not have seen this film. But it was really fun. Yeah, Christy Alley from Cheers.
Christy Alley from Cheers and John Travolta from Grease.
There you go. Yeah, we'll remember them from their good glory days. But that movie was interesting to me. Like, it was one of my favorites growing up as a kid, because I thought it was so silly, and I had no idea what they were talking about, what this frozen popsicle meant, and not realizing that it was a sperm donor as a kid. I had no idea. All that adult stuff went over my head. I just thought it was funny that the baby was talking and he was the main.
Totally.
Because babies don't talk. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it was like an hour and a half of a baby talking.
And that's the rarity of that movie, is that you are seeing the entire movie through the eyes of a baby.
Right.
Like, there aren't movies like that. There's nothing like that, really.
From his point of view, the camera is almost always at, like, his angle and everything, and he's like trying to figure out what the
right, and it's always his
doing.
dialogue as well. So it's pretty interesting that maybe that's why that movie was so popular. It's because it was something that nobody saw. I mean, there was nothing before that. that did anything like that, and nothing really came after. I mean, except for Look Who's Talking 2, but that's already run its course by that point.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
that
funny,
movie wasn't
just
good.
like it's not baby specific, but Disney loved doing that in the 70s where it wasn't baby, but they had to have different things like there's the shaggy dog DA and then there's
Yep.
the cat who takes
Right.
over the world. They love that idea of putting juxtapositions of a character that shouldn't be talking as talking.
Yeah.
Like Homeward Bound.
I was
The
gonna
three
say, yeah,
dogs that
Homeward
talk.
Bound. Yeah, same idea. What is that human doing? What are you doing? And it's like that whole like weird, like they're trying to figure out the world almost, that kind of voice. So
Yeah,
I think
so
you
to
should do
apply
that
that
with
baby
Baby
makes
Adeline.
sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you should do that with Baby Adeline as she grows up. Just take home movies and then record your voice as her voice in the background or something. Be kind of funny.
I've already thought of a
Or
whole bunch of
Stacey's.
videos that I want to do with my kid.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, dude, it's great.
Like, what the
But
heck
yeah,
is
so-
Dad doing with those toy turtles? I don't get it.
So Look Who's Talking. They came out with, I believe, was it multiple sequels after that? Did they have? They had one where
they had 1 and 2 that I know. I don't know if they did more after that. But
for
yeah, it
some
was all
reason I
in
think they
their
did 3
perspective.
where the dog talked or something. I don't know if
Probably.
that's just in the back of my
Yeah,
head or
I think
something.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it
Probably.
sounds like
Knowing
something that they would try
Hollywood,
and do.
yes.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nice because that was a film that was actually about, babyhood. It wasn't like a baby used as just a plot device, even though it kind of was for Christy Alley's character, meeting John Travolta and then becoming, kind of the parents to this child. It was the story of the baby learning everything and, seeing the world for the first time and wondering what the heck everything is. So,
And
movie.
that movie was huge in the 80s. It was in the 80s, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that was
80s.
80s. Or was it early 90s? Anyways, it doesn't matter because it was huge. People loved it. So it really kind of lost footing after the multiple sequels. But if you haven't seen this movie, definitely give it a try because it's pretty wild. Even the intro credits where you're
Right?
pretty much following around sperm.
Yeah, and I had no idea as a kid what the hell that was.
I
like,
didn't know it. I was
intro.
like, I always thought it was just tadpoles. I'm like, why do they have tadpoles in this
That's what I
movie
thought,
about
oh.
babies?
Oh, and the tadpoles talk to each other. It's freaking hilarious. Tadpole. I'm calling them tadpoles. The sperm are talking to each other.
The sperm we're talking to.
Oh, it's great.
So for movies and for cinema and all this stuff, babies in general and my research kind of went on the way of like laws and stuff like that kind of behind babies and kind of child labor laws. There's only really 3 jobs that a kid can do in the US, and that's deliver newspapers and making wreaths is the other one. I don't know why making wreaths, but those 2 you have to be like at a certain age as well. The only job that a kid can do under the age of 14 is an actor or performer.
Huh.
And that's wild to me. And there's some states, like for instance, New Jersey, kids can work. And here's the thing: a kid legally has to be 15 days old to legally work in the U.S. in the states, and it's wild to me that it's wild to me to think that a 15-day-year-old. I'm sitting here with an 8-day-year-old. Oh my God, I sound like an
You're
idiot.
on fire.
How much sleep have you had? I'm sorry. What was that?
No, I'm running on fumes, folks. My 8-day-old baby.
There we go.
Thank you. Oh, I did it, guys. My 8-day-old baby. I can't imagine taking that baby onto a set in the next couple days. And then, like I said, or where I was getting at was New Jersey. Babies can work 5 days a week for 5 hours straight.
Yep.
And in Louisiana, they can work 6 days a week straight for 6 hours a day. That to me blows my mind. I know that babies really all they do is sleep all day, but at the same time, it's just mind-boggling that you're going to have your kid on a set with bright lights for that long, for that many days a week.
It makes me think about, like, it seems newer movies and TV shows, there's always birth sequences, and it seems like they're more and more realistic. Like, they're almost capturing women giving birth live or something. It's like the babies that come out, they're like all gooey. I understand that can be practical effects, and then you add in the umbilical cord, that can all be, but some of it looks like literally the person just gave birth. And I wonder, under that 15-day law, if the baby's still attached by the umbilical cord, it's not under that 15-day law, and the mom actually gives approval to it.
I wonder. Because
So
I think you're onto something there, Trevor.
the one
'cause
thing
there is
that
real births in movies. That's a documented fact.
So the one thing that I did learn is that a lot of the babies that are used in Hollywood are, most of us know this, is that they're twins or triplets.
Yeah.
Right.
But most twins and triplets are preemie babies. And the crazy thing about preemies is with I don't want to call them normal babies, but babies that are born that are not preemies.
Yeah, they went through the 9 months, yeah.
Right. At the 2 week or the 15-day mark, they don't look like a newborn anymore. They're more aware. They don't look like a newborn, but preemies, they still look like a newborn after that 2 week. And that's where they actually do those scenes, is using a preemie baby. It's pretty wild. It's crazy the type of stuff that I learned about babies in cinema, man.
You dove deep. I like it.
Well, I figured, we're going to talk about babies. It's kind of fun.
The laws behind it. Yeah, I never.
Babies are essential to a lot of movies because they're crutches for a lot of stories. They're reasons to create sequels. That's probably the biggest reason babies even, like, two characters, will they, won't they? They finally have to have a baby. You can't, once they get together, there has to be some sequel or some new season where they actually have a baby.
No babies ever. No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened with these two. They had to make another baby. Like, that's how they make the second one.
They had to make the sequel.
Baby can only be a baby so long.
Right.
Unless it's an animated baby.
Right.
Well, and that's another thing that I ran across is the animatronic babies that they're starting to use.
Animatronic babies.
And I saw I looked up animatronic babies, and they are bonkers looking.
Yeah, I know.
Because they have them with the skin off. It's so wild seeing these, like, because it moves exactly like a baby would, but you're looking at this like robot thing. It's so creepy.
They also have like adult-sized baby versions too that are really creepy. So if you want to check that out on YouTube, it's really creepy. Awesome.
Well, let's sign up for adult-sized baby robot.
Oh, that'd be great. But animatronic babies, and they use this for like sequences in films and TV, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so like that type of stuff is, again, like they use those for birth scenes. Or there was actually an interview with Mandy Moore. I want to say she was on like Jimmy Fallon or something like that, but she had to do a scene with a very intense scene with a animatronic baby, and she said that she had to reach down and touch this baby like in a nice, gentle way, and then the baby started really like shaking and just and she was having to hold her composure and not freak out that this baby's sitting there twitching in front of her.
I bet that was just the effects guys behind the scenes.
It's just messing.
Pay attention. Hold on. Here she goes.
Yeah, so it's definitely crazy the type of things that you come across when you look up babies in cinema.
Yeah, see, I did not research that way with babies. That's interesting. You went down a different path than I did.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and trust me, as this episode goes on, I'll come up with I've got a lot more, or maybe not a lot more, but a few more little nuggets that are a little behind the scenes. But I figured, why not talk about one of the biggest babies out there right now in Hollywood, cinema, whatever you want to call it. Baby Yoda.
Okay. Baby Yoda.
And that's an animatronic baby.
Yeah, it's an animatronic baby. That's true.
It's an animatronic baby, but they made it look so cute. It's so adorable, man, that all we want is, I mean, people who never wanted babies before are now going out and buying a Baby Yoda at Target.
You adopt the Baby Yoda, and that is your baby. This is our child.
Yes.
Yep. This is the world we live in now, huh?
Baby Yoda everywhere. Yes.
But yeah, so Mandalorian, you got Baby Yoda, which the entire show revolved around that baby and keeping that baby safe, which seems to be a lot of any kind of baby movie. It's usually trying to keep a baby safe.
Yes.
And
there's a lot of things.
Actually, there is.
In action sequences, when they're holding these babies, those babies are squished and killed. Babies are super fragile, and
Oh, for sure.
There's no way they're dealing with all the
But
things.
they live in movies.
But movies, man, they're just like, oh, whatever. Baby's like bulletproof all of a sudden.
Oh God! But there's one of the The Fate of the Furious. There's a scene with Jason Statham, and he's got a baby, and he's in a gun battle, and he's got a baby in a carrier, and he's doing all these flips and kicks and guns and all this stuff, and then like he checks the baby to make sure it's okay, and the baby pretty much goes. It's like, wait a second, weren't you just firing a gun 6 inches from that kid's head?
Yep, the magic
I'm
of Hollywood,
doubting
baby.
that baby is now deaf.
Yes,
but anyways,
that's true. And deaf as well.
I was gonna go into Baby Yoda, but
no, we can circle back to Baby Yoda because he is an important character and plot device in that.
He's a plot device just because. What makes him so interesting is that he's not on screen a lot, or really hardly at all. That's not his component, but he made the show.
Enough.
If you took Baby Yoda out of the show, I think half the amount of people who watched The Mandalorian and made it a success for Disney Plus launch and everything would have watched it.
You think
100%?
Yeah.
That's why I think that
it got
Baby
like
Yoda
70 million. Don't you think it would drop down to like 35 million if there was no Baby Yoda?
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying
for me.
No.
Like, oh yeah.
For me, Baby Yoda brought me back into the Star Wars universe. I was kind of over the Star Wars universe.
Do you think it's because they made Baby Yoda real instead of CGI?
Yes.
I think it's more relatable for people, right? Yeah.
Everyone hated the CGI Yoda from the prequels, the old Yoda. I mean, that CGI Yoda was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever.
But when they saw him in Empire Strikes Back, everybody, I mean, the first time you meet Yoda, he was one of the best characters.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Everybody loves
him. He was off
Yoda.
his rockers. It was great.
Yeah.
He was like he was hitting R2-D2 with his cane.
And
great.
it's because he's a puppet.
Yeah, because he was a puppet, because you could feel the weight behind him. And that's the thing is even though Baby Yoda is sitting there floating in his little bassinet, you can feel the weight behind him. He looks real. He looks like you can interact with him.
Yes.
It's great.
Well,
I don't know. And that's why I think Baby Yoda is such a big part of pop culture is, I mean, that right there had such an impact on a lot of people. Like you said, half the people probably wouldn't have watched Mandalorian if it wasn't for that baby.
Well, here's the thing about Baby Yoda is that Baby Yoda because it's a baby, has no speaking parts and only uses the Force like a small handful of times. Most of the time, the reason why people like him is because he is doing baby things. Like that's all he does. He does cute baby stuff. You know, looks at things, touches things he's not supposed to. He just shows up and acts cute, like a baby. Like, hi, like I'm a baby. Like people are like, oh my God, they lose their crap over it.
Now, Prague, you brought up a really great point, and that about how he never says anything. And that's another law in cinema for babies. Babies are considered under 5. That's what they call it in Hollywood, under 5, where they have under 5 lines. You don't have to pay them like a big star. So most babies only get paid about $200 to $300 per day that they're on the set.
That my question has always been: if you're a parent, why are you going to put your baby in that position?
Like they can say that, oh look, my baby was in this great film
horrible.
or whatever.
Dude, look at pageant moms. Look at all these pageant moms where they're I just want my kid to be famous.
Well, no, they want to be famous in lieu of their kid. It's like, hey, that's my 100%. Kid. It's all 100%. That stuff. Yeah, that's what it is.
But that's the thing. I mean, if their kids end up in a big show, you know, i.e., look at Mary-Kate and Ashley, how they got on Full House. They ended up becoming billionaires off of their brand of being Mary-Kate and Ashley. Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, are they anymore? I feel like I never hear about them.
No,
nor do I care. They
have enough money.
No, it's all about their other sister, Elizabeth.
Yeah, my favorite.
They're like gargoyle people or something. I don't know what they are anymore.
People. But that brings you back to your point of having the twins on the show. Even though they weren't twins on the show, it was one kid. That way they can split up the child laborer, but also they can use different personalities because they both had their own personalities. One was better at like the comedy scenes, and one was better at the more serious scenes. So you can bring in the different babies in for different stuff.
Absolutely. And another thing, if one of the babies is on set too long where they get fussy, You just bring in the other one, and boom. Now you've
Get
got
rid of this one.
This one's being fussy. Chuck it.
Yes.
That's why you always go with an animatronic baby or
Always.
an animated baby or something like that. Because speaking of alien babies, I didn't think of this one, but a friend of the show, Sean Blair, El Loco on Twitter, he mentioned the alien from Alien.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's probably the biggest like opening sequence for any character ever to burst out of somebody's chest, and that baby goes on to be the main part of the whole movie and the whole franchise.
Oh, it was so cute too.
I'm literally thinking of the baby bursting out of the chest, and then go, "Hello, my baby.
Yep.
Hello,
Right.
my darling.
Michigan J.
Hello, my
Frog style,
ragtop. Yeah." Michigan
And the same
J.
actor
Frog.
reprised his role for that scene, which was pretty fun.
But
No,
what was
fun
that?
fact.
Spaceballs where they
Yep.
did that?
Spaceballs.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Every time that I think about the chest burster, I always think of Spaceballs.
It's
How
just
can
funny
you not?
that you think of babies and you usually think of human babies.
Right.
But babies of other species are probably bigger movie. Like we've already mentioned Lion King, Mandalorian, and Alien, where the baby is more of a protagonist and pivotal role than human.
Than a human baby.
Any
Yeah,
movie.
you're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're wearing a Jurassic Park shirt. Immediately, I'm thinking Jurassic Park 2, where they have the baby
It's on my
T-Rex.
list. Yep.
It's on
It's
your
on my
list.
list.
That's why I wore the shirt.
That's awesome, man.
Because it's the definition of a sequel. Because there's no reason for the Jurassic Park: The Lost World and the way they produced it. You know, it's nothing like the book. The movie they made is like, we're going to make something super stupid. And so that's perfectly fine,
Yeah.
but it's predicated on having the baby. The baby T-Rex is everything. The whole beginning sequence is Julianne Moore makes a stupid decision and is like, oh, I'm going to go save this baby T-Rex and bring it back to the thing. And that'll be good. No one will figure that out or anything.
Julianne Moore makes a lot of dumb movies and dumb
Yes.
decisions in movies. But also
But
that
she makes dumb movies.
I don't know why that is about her. No offense to her, but
Oh, Jurassic Park.
Anyway.
That whole movie is just, it's all about the baby. They bring the baby back to San Diego. Everything is about that baby.
I want my
T-Rex.
baby back, baby
Yeah,
back.
San Diego, which is actually LA. Oh, that bothered me so much.
Yeah, that was weird, huh?
Yeah. They have one shot of San Diego skyline, and then it's like LA
And
downtown.
then LA downtown. Because LA doubles for everything, every city and every movie. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
It happens.
So, I was gonna go somewhere else. Well, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna just go. Actually, don't we have a guest?
Oh, yes, we do have a guest. This is a new thing for us, actually. And we've been talking a lot about different pop culture babies, but there might be a different arena of pop culture that we haven't really touched on before.
Thanks, guys. So I know you've been talking about influential babies in movies and TV, but how about some babies in comic books that are pretty important? So obviously we can talk about Superman being sent as a baby from Krypton to Earth in a rocket ship, or maybe Wonder Woman in her original origin being formed from clay and given life by the Greek gods. There are also the Umbrella Academy babies that grow up to save the world from an apocalypse. But there are a few other babies that maybe people don't necessarily know about because they don't read comic books. So let's start off with Damien Wayne, who's the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul. So Damien made his debut in Batman 655 as a young boy, but his storyline actually starts in a 1987 story called Batman Son of the Demon, which was an out-of-continuity story, but Grant Morrison took some of those story elements and incorporated them into Damien's history when he reintroduced them. Damien right now is the leader of the current incarnation of the Teen Titans, and he's also one half of a duo that's known as the Super Sons, the other half being Jonathan Kent, who is the son of Superman and Lois Lane. Interestingly enough, Jonathan made his debut in an out-of-continuity story, Convergence Superman number 2, and he was recently incorporated into present DC continuity. He is the inspiration for the current incarnation of the Legion of Superheroes, and in fact goes on to become a member of that team. DC does a really good job of establishing legacy characters to take over or enhance the role of a current superhero. But many of their legacy characters usually are the proteges or the sidekicks of the heroes, and not necessarily the sons and daughters of the actual established heroes. So it's really cool that they're starting to incorporate them into their storylines. Two more of which being Wally West's kids, Iris and Jay West, who made their debut in Flash 225. Again, a storyline that was set prior to current DC continuity, but Iris and Jay were recently reincorporated into the present continuity in a storyline called Flash Forward. Now, Aquaman and Mira have had a son in the past as well. Now, he is out of continuity, but they've just recently had a daughter named Andy in Aquaman's current series. Now, I don't know where they're going to take her storyline, but you can imagine that maybe she grows up to be the next Queen of Atlantis. So I'm going to move on to Nathan Summers, who is the son of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor being a clone of Jean Grey. So Nathan's made his debut, or Nathaniel, I should say, made his debut in the Uncanny X-Men 201. Nathaniel gets sent to the future because he gets infected with a techno-organic virus, so they send him to the future to protect him. And he grows up and comes back as a pretty prominent character in the Marvel X-Men comics named Cable. So those of you may know Cable from the Deadpool 2 movie as one of the main characters in that. So Cable made his debut in New Mutants 87. Funny enough, Cable was involved in another storyline in the X books in which he actually protects a young girl, baby born, the first mutant birth that occurred after mutants had been decimated by the Scarlet Witch. So Hope Summers is introduced in X-Men 205, and Cable ultimately saves her and takes her to the future and raises her as his daughter. So Hope plays a pretty prominent role in current X continuity, as she is one of 5 mutants that are involved in a process that can resurrect any mutant that is killed. So she is integral to that part of the process and is a very important character in X Comics today. Now, I mentioned Scarlet Witch having decimated the mutant population, but Scarlet Witch and the Vision actually had their own kids. Not in this issue, Avengers West Coast number 52, but in this issue you find out that Scarlet Witch's kids were actually 2 parts of Mephisto's soul. And yes, if you can really see, this guy here has the 2 kids as demon baby hands, which is a little bit creepy. But you find out that she used her reality warping powers to allow her to have kids with an android Vision. And she kind of goes mad after those souls are reincorporated into Mephisto, and kind of goes crazy a few times later on, leading to the decimation of the mutants. But funny enough, the reason why Mephisto's soul had been shattered was because of another prominent son of some Marvel characters, Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, and their son Franklin Richards. So Franklin is the one who actually destroyed Mephisto's soul and split it, creating the opportunity for Scarlet Witch's reality warping powers to grab 2 fragments of that soul and incorporate them into the souls for those 2 kids. Now, the importance of Scarlet Witch and Vision's kids, and the reason why I bring it up, if you saw the WandaVision trailer, you'll notice that there are 2 babies in cribs, and maybe those are the twins that she and Vision had, named Tommy and Billy, who in current Marvel continuity were reintroduced in the Young Avengers series as Wiccan and Speed. So those are just a few examples of babies in comics that you may want to keep an eye on. Maybe Alex wants to read those to his daughter, as some bedtime stories. Maybe not the creepy demon baby hand one, but some of the other ones. But I'll send it back to you guys, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. That was a lot of fun. Talking about comic books, which is near and dear to my heart. And you mentioned one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, who is very important, Batman's son, Damien Wayne. So thank you for sharing that, and I hope that you become a recurring guest on our show.
Absolutely. And, Gary was talking about all those different influential births. I know that's not really the emphasis of the Star Wars story, but at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we do get to see the birth of Luke and Leia. It causes the death of Padme. She somehow even though her heart's broken and she's so sad and stuff. Luckily they get the babies from her, and there's no reason for her to be dead. At least we got those babies that we wouldn't know that we had if we didn't have those other movies that came like way earlier or anything.
Right?
Didn't she die of a broken heart though?
Yeah, but she's able to somehow give birth to the baby.
But
Like
how?
her heart's
Yeah,
already
right?
broken. Her heart should have been broken like 12 hours ago.
But
Probably when he was
somehow
talking
she
about
gave birth.
sand, she probably was dead at that
So
point.
maybe the Force is what actually gave birth to them. It wasn't.
Oh, they're
her after
Force
all.
babies.
They're
Force
literally
babies.
Force babies. Yes.
Well, I mean, Anakin is technically like just created out of like immaculate conception. That's what the
Exactly,
story the mom
right.
gives us.
Supposedly she didn't sleep with anybody. Likely.
Ah.
Sure.
Star Wars
Um,
and babies.
Yeah, right? What the heck, man? Yeah, and that happened at like the very end of that trilogy.
Actually, the new trilogy is all dependent on Han and Leia's demon spawn baby.
Oh my God, isn't that true? Wow. Yeah.
And their baby.
And then Rian Johnson tries to make a big deal that parenting doesn't matter. But JJ's like, you know what? Rey actually is somebody important. Sorry, Ryan. I don't care what you did.
Gotta throw The Last Jedi into every podcast episode.
This isn't a Star Wars podcast.
It's not a
Not
Star
a
Wars
Star-
podcast, by the way. Just FYI.
But hey,
Um,
speaking of Star Wars, aren't we doing something big for Star Wars?
Sure.
Speaking of, yes.
Starting August 28th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be joining the Nerd Unite Network to host Force Fiesta as an alternative to the Star Wars celebration that's going to be essentially canceled. They might do some virtual stuff, but our stuff's going to be way better because it's us. I mean, come on. So join us. Twitch.tv/Secondary Heroes. And
Join us.
everybody else at twitch.tv/Nerd Unite Network. We're going to host it all. Join us then.
Awesome.
That was a
Wow.
heck of a
That was
pitch.
a
I like it.
solid commercial.
Nice. Well, I did want to segue though off of the whole Star Wars thing with their birth at the end of the film, because another film that did this that was really dependent on a birth was a movie called Children of Men, which I know, Trevor, you weren't the biggest fan of, but it was a film that literally depended on this woman that they found who was pregnant, and you can't be pregnant in this post-apocalyptic future in this movie. So it was very important to have this baby, and it became like this whole big deal at the end of the film. So yeah, it's interesting how a movie about a baby and how important they are, you don't really get to see the baby until really like the end of the movie. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not correct, that was a live birth that happened in that film.
How
There
is
you
that
go.
even possible that they can do that though? That they can have a live birth on?
I don't know.
think
Maybe
it's
it
the
wasn't on
mom.
them.
I think the mom has to give away rights.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember when that film came out hearing about that being an actual live birth. Because if you watch that scene, I mean, it looks like an actual birth like that. I don't know how you fake that. So,
Children of Men was
Oh.
on my list. I mean, the story is compelling. It's just not executed as well as it could be. Like, there's really good acting and scene setup and all that stuff. But
and
it's again,
cinematography.
you finish it and you're like, okay.
And that's it? Oh, okay. Which is too bad because, yeah, there's aspects of the movie that are pretty phenomenal. Like, it's like really great long takes and stuff in that film. And like the baby is part of that really long take where they just walk this baby around. And everyone, like, these people have not seen a baby. And I don't remember how long it's been since the last child was born, but I think it's been like more than a decade or two since anyone's actually seen a baby. So to have everyone just stop in the middle of this like epic battle scene and just put their guns down and stare at this baby crying, and yeah, it was intense. Really good moment in the film, but yeah, that wasn't until the end of the movie though.
I mean, the premise of it, I still haven't seen it myself, but the premise of it alone just sounds super interesting, and I actually wouldn't mind giving that movie a try.
The premise is kind of built on or can like side with the Handmaid's Tale, where it's this similar kind of post-apocalyptic future where babies are harder and harder to come by. It's not decades since the last baby, but everything's kind of contingent upon babies harder to come by. Like, they don't know the exact reason. We kind of figure it out, but the main character, June, finally does give birth in season 2, and it sets up a whole more seasons after that. But her being
Important
pregnant is
baby.
actually the story. You know, it's her
Right.
pregnancy is the story. And since we are talking about babies, there's a lot of movies that are actually based on pregnancy, not about the babies themselves. You have movies like
Right.
Juno and Knocked Up, Baby Mama, What to Expect When You're Expecting. It's a recent trend, too, where a lot of movies are focusing on pregnant mothers and how they interact with the world, with each other before it's actually given birth. So it's not focused on the baby, but it's still, the baby is the crux of why the movie exists.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
The baby is the MacGuffin inside the character. That's kind of crazy. I don't know.
That is wild. That it is pretty wild. And jumping off of what you had said about Children of Men and having the live birth, I wanted to. That was a little piece of my research, was that there was a movie that Sean Penn made called The Last Face. And one of the things that he wanted in the movie was he wanted to have a 1-day-old baby. He wanted to have essentially a live birth in the movie, or in his movie, or whatever. So his way around it was to film it in South Africa, where there is no child labor laws, or there is no laws for that type of stuff. So if maybe Children of Men was filmed in another country where
it was
they were
filmed
able
in
to
England.
do that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
it was
so
filmed in the
wild.
UK. So that makes sense.
Wow, man.
Way to get around loopholes.
Yeah, it blows my mind, because sometimes, for instance, my wife went through a 24-hour labor. Like, you can't have film cameras rolling that whole time.
Well,
that's
babies,
and that's not active. I mean,
first babies are the toughest. You would probably specifically cast someone who's had multiple babies.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Right.
It wouldn't be their first birth. You wouldn't want to have that.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
All the karma around that.
And it's interesting that a lot of these directors and producers and actors are willing to do this, like willing to go to another country to make sure that they get that shot. I got to get that shot of a baby being born.
Or maybe it's that important to them. Yeah.
I don't know why that would be that important. I mean, the way that makeup artistry is nowadays, and the way that, I mean, even a little bit of CG. I'm not saying Twilight CG, but I'm saying a little bit of CG to make it look real.
Twilight, I mean, the baby in that movie.
That's what I mean.
But she's pretty impactful in the books. Like, her existence creates halfway through book 3 and the rest of book 4. I've never seen the movie versions of those, but as a storytelling device, she becomes very important as she imprints on Jacob, and then she is developing super fast because she's connected to Edward, but she has the live blood of Bella, and so she's already like 10 or 12 by the final battle, and she's actually all like super powerful. You know, it's like having like Jean Grey all of a sudden on your side of the fight. It's this whole thing going on.
I actually never really saw the movies either.
I just seen the movies, the books.
I'm not gonna read the books. Give me a break.
Who reads books?
Alex. Who reads books?
I got other books I can read. Right now, it's a lot of what to expect when expecting.
I was about to say stuff like that. Yeah.
But no, that CG scene is everywhere. You can go onto YouTube and look up Twilight CG Baby, and it's awful. Well, I mean, it's hideous.
I mean, that studio, whatever they're called. I don't care. But, they made
either.
Hunger Game and they made the Twilight movies. And they somehow got the rights to things that if it was under Universal or Disney or Warner Brothers, it would have been a much better film franchise for both of them. And they went and chose this cheapest company that just churned out this stuff, and this is what you get.
That's what you get, man.
Wow.
Or you can fly down to like South Africa and film somebody's birth in there. Whatever you want to do.
Go down to South Africa and have yourself a little vampire baby. Try and make South Africa look like gorgeous Washington State. Anyways.
Horror babies are also a big component, because there's the Omen, where there's no more influential baby other than Jesus Christ than the actual Antichrist. So they have a whole series of movies based on the Omen. There's the Omen, and then there's Omen 2.
And then there's knockoffs too. There's a billion knockoffs of like, hey, this kid's like the Omen.
Well, there's Good Omens, the show on Amazon.
Good Omens, yes.
Yeah, that's all based on the Antichrist. And then there's Rosemary's Granddaughter.
There you go. Not Rosemary's Baby, but Rosemary's Granddaughter.
Yeah, it's the super sequel. Okay. Rosemary's Baby came out in the 70s, but Rosemary's Granddaughter came out in 2010.
Dang.
Well, since we're talking about horror and babies, what about oh God, I'm sorry. It was the John Krasinski movie, the silent movie.
Oh,
Be quiet, you dumb
yeah,
person.
Quiet.
Quiet Place. Yeah.
Quiet Place.
Quiet
Yeah.
Place.
Wow. Hey guys, why don't we start a podcast about movies?
Be quiet, you dumb
there.
person is coming soon.
Wear a mask, you dumb person. That's gonna be the follow-up.
Well, it's just interesting that like that movie was dependent on being quiet, and then they had the birth of the baby, and
That's a
I
pretty
don't know if you
visceral
guys have
scene,
ever
too.
spent an hour with a baby. Babies don't be quiet
tend
for
not
an hour.
to. I choose not to usually. No.
Well,
Just that
I
whole
mean,
birth sequence in the bathtub, and she's trying to be quiet by herself, giving birth to a baby.
impossible.
Not easy.
Absolutely impossible. There's no way that. I mean, maybe I don't know.
We're showing
Maybe
how
some of the
hardcore
yogis
Emily
out there
Blunt is,
can.
because this is the Emily Blunt that ends up in Edge of Tomorrow. I'm
No,
telling you,
wait.
Same universe.
same universe. She's also Mary Poppins,
Who hangs out with babies all day long?
and she's a girl on the train.
God.
So
is
speaking of
happening?
horror, to stay on horror, to backtrack that a bit, in The Walking Dead, Lori has baby Meredith.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
But
didn't know the
then
baby's name.
after she had the baby, she was then eaten by, well, she died, and then was eaten by a zombie. So is she
No.
now a baby because she's in the zombie? So is Lori now a
What?
zombie? Is she
Lori-
a baby?
No, because the kid shoots the mom before she can turn or whatever.
No, but he goes back in, and she was eaten by the zombie. The zombie, she comes in, the zombie has the big pregnant Bella because he ate Lori.
Oh my God! I see what you're saying. That's disgusting.
Yeah, so does that mean Lori is a baby now? Just in pieces?
Oh my God, dude!
Just saying. I love
Wow,
horror.
you really pieced that together, man.
Well, no, the zombie did that part.
Oh.
That's another baby that has to stay quiet, and it would never happen.
Right,
you
exactly.
go.
In The Walking Dead, baby Meredith.
you
Yeah,
go.
for sure.
But then we never have had that awesome gif of him crying at the end of that episode of Rick Grimes doing the whole
Coral. I feel like
There
we're
you
getting
go.
off track a little bit here, Phils.
That's right. We're kind of at the end of the episode anyways.
Yeah.
That's probably a good
I
place to
think
There's
stop.
just one other piece was animated babies, just because
Oh, yeah.
there is Boss Baby, which kind of what we started with of
Right.
the perspective from the baby and the baby talking, of course, except it has to be like, I've never seen the movie. Trailers looked horrible, but it does exist. It's an example of having a baby be the lead.
It is. It was actually one of the first examples I thought of, but I had not watched the film, so I was like, I'm not going to mention it because I know nothing about it. But
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
another
nothing.
movie called Storks, which is all about
Oh
babies,
God.
where there's
Well,
a
and
stork
that's-
that has babies to deliver.
I'm still trying to figure out why storks. Why do storks deliver babies? Anyways.
I don't
It's
know.
some old wives' tale. It's like all the crazy
It's-
stories we
yeah,
have.
Who knows, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
at the start of Dumbo, storks deliver all the babies. They don't just deliver human babies. They're delivering the rhino and the elephants and the tigers. They deliver every
Oh
baby
my.
in the zoo.
That's true.
But who delivers the
comes from?
stork babies?
Oh. Oh. Well, I want to
about
end
that.
all of my stuff off with one of my favorite movies that it's pretty much dealing with a baby and trying to rescue a baby, and that's The Labyrinth.
Oh wow! I
The
wasn't
whole-
even thinking about the labyrinth. It is. That's
The whole movie is based on trying to save the baby from the Goblin King and having to go through the labyrinth and save her little brother from Jareth, David Bowie.
I always thought it
and
was
his
about David
balls.
Bowie's codpiece. Yeah. Okay. It was about the baby the whole time. That's right. It was about the baby, not the codpiece.
I love that movie. I know Jennifer Connelly really doesn't do much. She's kind of dumb throughout the whole movie, but it's such a
she's
fantastic movie.
Terrible in
that
that
has
movie,
a
but it's a
baby.
fun movie.
It is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen Labyrinth, give it a try. I love it. That's where I wanted to end my piece off because
Nice.
It's a baby movie. Essentially, it's about a baby and needing to save a baby.
Dance, magic, dance.
Well, there's also the Deus Ex Machina babies, like Jack Jack, who the only reason the sequel exists is because people wanted to know about Jack Jack. They gave us that little
That's right.
clip
They don't care. But
in the
yeah,
bonus
they're like,
feature of like Incredibles 1.5 of like, oh, look at all the stuff Jack Jack can do. So they created a whole movie around look at all the stuff Jack Jack can do. And he shows up and he can do every single thing under the sun and he saves the day every single way. The movie is terrible. It's lifeless. It's beautifully made. It's like the best peak Pixar animation creation. And they didn't put any story or life into it. But it shows how that what happens when you try to focus on using the baby in the sequel. Baby can't carry the sequel by itself.
Nope. I don't want my baby back, baby back. I don't.
I never saw it, so I can't really comment. I kind of feel bad because it's actually, I love the first Incredibles.
The first Incredibles is amazing.
This is great. Yeah.
I would say it's incredible.
I ruin it. Oh,
It's the best Fantastic Four we've ever seen on film.
so far.
Ooh, I like that.
So far. I don't know if we're getting Quiet
So
Place with Emily
far.
Blunt and John Krasinski as
That's what it's gonna
Stu and
be,
Reed
yeah.
Richards. I'm like, ugh.
Hey, man, it could work. Let's hope it does. Because I feel like everybody's dying for a new Fantastic Four movie that's actually good.
Maybe they'll just start with like they're in it. We don't need
Let's hope so.
backstory. They'll
Let's
just
hope
have like
so.
some horrible villain they have to face, and let's just
Please.
roll.
Roll with it, man. Anyways.
Well.
Also, one more Rugrats.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course.
Couldn't go a whole show about babies without an entire show that is only about babies.
Rugrats.
But really, there's all about babies. Yes.
Pickle, and their last name was Pickles. That's all I could really remember
Yep,
off the
Tommy
top of my head.
Pickles.
Tommy Pickles.
And then they have Dill Pickles, and they make the stupid movies, and it ruins everything that was good about the Rugrats.
Oh man, I'm
Whoever
like trying
Nick
to
came up with
access that
Dill
part of my
Pickles-
brain right now.
They need to be. Hopefully, they've been long fired.
That was all from their perspective. It was kind of a lot like Look Who's Talking. It was like,
Yeah.
from their perspective, they were confused about what the parents were doing. They
Full
didn't
circle on the
understand,
podcast. Where we started is where we end.
I love
yeah.
it.
Circle of life, man.
Way
Oh
to
my
go,
god, even
guys.
more so where we started. Excellent. Episode 76 of the Secondary Heroes podcast. Check out Anchor. Leave us a voice message if you do. And to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Frog out.
Kristen Dunst expresses confusion after Kanye West features her face in campaign promo. That is your clickbait of the week. That is a damn good clickbait.
I can't leave that, okay? You called her Kristen and her name's Kirsten. And Prague has specifically said that she has an unfortunate face, and that's all you're going to focus on in the clickbait. Is
That's
her
the best
face.
part about it. That's what made me laugh so hard.